The following video is an excerpt from a webinar that we recorded showing the features of Virtual Publisher Production. We thought this would be very helpful for you to review and show you the value and the features within Virtual Publisher Production. We look forward to your feedback.
So at this point, after all the planning process is finished, I can go into the actions and say promote plan to production. Now once I do that, you'll see that I do get some warnings. But you do have the ability to actually promote the plan with the warnings because I'm an admin. And once I do that, the book is now ready to go into production, to accept high-res, and to really start the process. And this is really where your designers are going to start the process of getting notifications and working through the process of creating the editorials and submitting the editorials in. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually go back over to the initial issue that I was working on where I actually have lots of data in. And I'm going to show you some examples of how it looks internally and then talk a little bit about how the editorial staff is going to get the information into this issue. A couple of different views. We're currently looking at a default view. You can take a look at an info-only view, which gets rid of the thumbnails and gives you an info view only. Also have a page status view, which gives you just a quick icon-based quick view on where you are in the production. So it tracks all of the current status of each one of the pages. And then also gives you what is basically a simple wireframe view if you want to see just a quick wireframe without all of the other noise. So let's do this. We'll talk a little bit, I guess, about the versioning. And if I'm looking at page 1 here and I click on page 1, you'll notice that in my template I had set this up to have 2 versions, one being newsstand and one being a default. So here's the newsstand version. You'll see that I currently have the barcode associated with the newsstand edition. And then if I click on the default, it actually shows that that default version does not have this barcode in. So as I said earlier, we can handle versioning on a page basis, an insert, a section, an add, so we can really version anything that you need to version within each issue. All right, so let's do this. Let me talk a little bit about actually getting editorial into the system. You have a very simple uploader that you could go to Plan Actions and say Upload Editorial Files. And if I choose an editorial, I can simply navigate on my desktop or to local storage to be able to select the files. And I can select a single file or multiple files. And it just brings them in and it allows me to say upload files, and then it's going to slip those files into the editorial based upon the position or the folio or the order that I want to put in to the upload. Not necessarily the most elegant. I think the drag and drop works well. But do you guys use InDesign as your primary software for production?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So what we did is we created an InDesign plugin, which allows you a two-way communication between the portal and everything that's been planned within the portal and how your designers currently work today. We don't want to change the way they work today, so we built this InDesign plugin, which is really makes it easy for your designers, where your designers actually don't have to come into the portal once they are assigned an editorial and have to work through it. So let's do this. I'm going to set up another quick editorial. So I'm going to reserve an editorial. Okay, well-rounded. Slug information in. Author, I'm going to assign it to me. Again, I'll make it myself. We can put it into the future design section. We'll make this a 1.66, so we'll reserve it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip this into page 6 and this part of page 7. I've already got this ad that's already placed there that came in. So at this point, you would take it. It's planned. I'll drop it in. At that point, an email notification just went out to me that said, hey, you've been assigned this editorial. You have to create this editorial, and it has all the metadata associated with the editorial. You can type in any instructions you have with it. But what I'll do is I'm going to flip over to my InDesign desktop. And all I did is I created this InDesign document. You'll notice I have it as a full page here and a 3/4 page with a slot here for the ad that actually is already in the portal. And here's the InDesign. We created this InDesign plugin called Editorial Manager. And if I click on the Editorial Manager, I'm going to log in as the Keith admin that I was logged into the portal. Once I sign in, what it does is it lists all of the editorials that are currently assigned to me, gives me a status that it's awaiting material, tells me if it's placed in a section, tells me how many pages it is, if it's placed there. And I have the ability to scroll down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this well-rounded editorial that I just created, and if I click on it, here's the gibberish I put in the slug. Tells me it's a 1.66. Tells me that it has a start page of page 6, and it is placed, and it's going in the future design section. Also gives me a nice little visual representation of the editorial and how it's supposed to be laid out. Now, several different options that you have. Now, we do have some options within the portal which allows you to stitch partial ads and editorial together in the portal. But we found that our customers and the designers who are currently using InDesign, they'd rather do it in InDesign. So what we did is if I go to Actions, we have several different things you can do within the Actions. I could upload a preview, which is low res, so it actually creates low res out of InDesign. I could upload the document, which based upon your pre-flight specs within the portal will create that final PDF X1A or PDF X4 and actually submit that file into the portal. I can pre-flight the document. I can import folio numbers. I'll give you a for instance. If you look at the bottom here, if you can see that it's currently, I've designed it to run on page 21 and 22. If I say import folio numbers, you'll see down here that those numbers just changed because I currently have it slated to run on page 6 and 7. So that's an example of that two-way communication between the portal and your InDesign. But one of the most important things is, let's say that I do want to actually grab that ad that is in Send My Ad and pull it down into my InDesign document. If I go to Import Ads and say click there, what you'll see is, let me hide the plugin for a minute, it actually grabbed the high-res ad out of the portal and placed it into the proper position, XY coordinates based upon how it was actually placed and planned into Virtual Publisher. Now, one of the good things about the system is that you have a couple of different options on pre-flighting. Now, what I did on purpose, if you look at the name of this file, it's called Error Well-Rounded. I took these three images and actually converted those guys into RGB. And I have my portal set up to actually catch errors where we're not going to accept or we're going to error out on RGB. So the next step I would do is I would go through, and you can turn this pre-flighting on or off, by the way. Some customers want to have a central pre-flight and make sure that things like this don't happen. Some customers want to turn it off and say the designers should not be designing with RGB anyway. So it's completely up to you. But if I go and I say upload document, I have the choice. I can upload a single page or a range of pages. And if I say upload document, you'll see what it did is it actually found those three RGB images in my document and gives me a warning based upon that pre-flight parameter from your Virtual Publisher portal. But you do have a backdoor. You can say, you know what, I'm an admin, I want to upload it anyway. So if I say upload anyway, what the system does is it actually grabs your output parameters from your InDesign or from your Virtual Publisher portal. It actually is controlled through your InDesign plugin. And once you hit upload file, it actually creates that PDF based upon the full spec that you have within the Virtual Publisher portal. So it does give you centralized consistency of creation of those PDFs. So let me flip back over to the portal, and you'll see that those files are now flowing in. So you'll see that page 6, it'll actually pop in. And then what the system's actually doing currently also is that it's running it through not only the upload and the placement, but it actually merged these two items. So if I click on page 7 now, you'll see that we actually merged two PDFs, or an InDesign document and a PDF that was downloaded, into a final PDF X1A in this case. Now I do run this through an approval cycle, so I have it set to where It actually has to be approved by an editor. But those approval cycles are completely customizable by you. You can have them on or off. You can have them to where they will automatically approve. You could have approval cycles that have to happen in order, or you could have them where they could happen randomly and have a group or an individual associated with each one of those milestones. So it's completely customizable by you. Any questions before I talk a little bit about undoing what I just did?
I have a question. As an editor,
Sure.
often until images are placed into a format, we're not aware of page allocation. We have to accommodate page allocation. You know, we might have a Word document of 1,000 words, but by the time the images are placed, we need to cut 150 words out. We may want to go in and revise a paragraph that seems awkward. Where is the process of going in and having the ability to do that? What step? Where is the step process for that? Where does that begin?
Well, that's really managed through. I'm assuming you're creating those pages initially in InDesign. Are you using any kind of a InDesign plugin like InCopy maybe or something?
Editors work in a different program. We don't have to work in InDesign in the program that we have. Only the graphics designer does. So it's collaborative. I don't work in InDesign.
Right, right. Well, that's more of an upfront thing where we don't currently store story and text and manage really the creation of the text and the word count and manage that portion. And we do have an API that can integrate with some external systems, but what several of our customers do, they use InCopy to actually manage that portion of it. So using InDesign, using InCopy, bringing the copy in, working the images, modifying, scaling the images, importing the text, changing text if it needs to be changed, and working through that approval cycle more up front, and then using our InDesign plugin to actually send that information into the portal.
Okay, so it has to go, I see what you're saying, it has to all be created prior and then managed through InDesign for the final product. Exactly.
Where we pick it up really is the management and the production of the InDesign document, including the importation of the ads and all those types of things prior to actually creating the PDF. But there are a ton of other tools, obviously, that are available up front to manage that, whether it's K4 type stuff or InCopy or other types of things that do manage the text for editorials.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So one of the key things about what I just showed you is to be able to actually marry these two items together. Now, we know that we're actually managing your ads and your editorials. And what we do is, although we actually created that PDF X1A for you, you do have the ability to go back and unmerge it. So let's say that you see this and you go, oh my, I need to go in and I need to change something in this editorial, or oh my God, it's the wrong ad, that's not what we want there. You do have the ability under Actions to go in and say Unmerge Page. And when you say Unmerge Page, it actually takes the page, and you'll see that we actually have it set in two separate items. So you have the editorial here that it is in a PDF form, so it is PDF X1A, and you also have the PDF X1A that was submitted by the advertiser. And you can manage both of those items separately. So if I click on the ad, you'll see the ad is there. And obviously one of the main reasons we do that too is we're maintaining that ad as a separate item just in case your advertiser comes back in later and picks it up. So you do have the ability to make changes just in case you merge something and it wasn't supposed to work that way. Let's see, a couple of other things. Managing really kind of the approval cycle through your InDesign plugin and actually submitting those files in. Page 9, I know that on page 9 that I actually have a couple of revisions to that, and you'll see that it's currently on a rejected state. If I click on the file, and it comes up, you'll see that I actually have an original, a revision 1, and a revision 2. Now what I did is, and I'll show you how the workflow is that I just requested a change in the font, and you'll see that I can actually toggle it back and forth. And then I put it on a rejected state. And it's really simple to do that. Let's say that I want to actually add a note to the file. I can actually take the notes version, say add a note. I can pull the little sign up here. I can put it around it and actually type any information that I want to change on the file that I want to see, and then reject that file. And what happens is an email email notification goes out to the person who's responsible for the creation of the InDesign file and makes the request for that change in the file itself. They go back to InDesign, they make that change, and they resubmit it back into the portal, and it will show up as a third revision. And that's really kind of how we manage it. I should show that one of the good things about the portal is that it does track everything. So if I click on history, it lists everything that happened to this file. So it says who did what, when they did it, why they did it. So if there's ever any question about the production of the file and what happened, we basically track every move and every change on that file. So there's complete accountability. All right, let's see. Let me show, I guess, a couple of other tools that we have. I'm running up on about 45 minutes here. I'll try to usually keep it to a little under an hour and then leave some time for some questions. A couple of additional tools that we have that I think are pretty handy. If you're looking at your publication here, you can actually go in and say that you want to actually print plans. So let's say you're going to go into a meeting and you want to have a copy of the plan as it sits. You can say print plan. It creates a very simple printable version of your of the view that you have within your portal. Just say print plan. It prints out a laser print for you. You can bring that into a meeting and mark it up. And again, it will actually give you that view on any view that you're looking at. So let's say that you really don't want to see it that way. Let's say that I want to see a very simple info-only view, because I really don't care about the images. I'm more interested in the metadata and the information there. If I change that view and I go back and say print plan, you'll say that you'll see that it creates that view for you in a printable view, which may be more appealing to kind of talk about in a meeting. One of the other tools that we built into the portal, let's say that you want to really have just a quick view of how the publication is currently laid out. We created a little feature called Magazine Viewer. So if I go down to View in Magazine Viewer, if I select that, you'll see that it pops open in just kind of a quick HTML flipbook version, which gives you basically a reader spread of how the book is currently laid out. So it gives you the ability to flip through it and see how it's going to be printed. And if you have any questions or problems, you can always go back and work on it from here. Now you'll notice that the only thing I've clicked on over here really was the book plan view, and I'm going to kind of zoom through a lot of the other views and features on the left side. So we've been looking at the book plan view. We did create an alternate view, which is a ladder view, which is more of a printer view, which was one of our customers' requests, where we start with page 1, 2, 3, go down and come back up and have 31 and 32 here, which are our back cover and our inside cover. You can also view your book in a signature setup. So you have your cover section, you have each one of your signatures, you can see how your stories and your sections lay out within each one of the signatures. Probably most importantly is you do have the ability to look at your run list. So we really didn't talk too much about delivery of files, but what happens is you can set the system up where that when a section is finished or an entire book is finished or as pages are finished, you can set the system to automatically deliver those pages either to you or to the printer or to both of you if you wish to have a copy of the final book. But what happens is we'll send along the entire run list of all of the pages and what the file name is, what type of file it is, whether it's an editorial, and the current status it gives you here. But obviously, if you were delivering all of these will be completed pages. We have an editorial view. So let me click on one of the editorials and kind of show you how we can manage it. If I click on the smoothing elements, you'll see that you do have the ability to manage your regions here. So let's say that you do create an editorial that has multiple regions in it. You do have the ability to go in and actually assign additional regions to it. So let's say that we want to run this in the newsstand version, and then I could create additional files that may actually run in the default version. So where you saw before that I managed it on the cover, you could do it on an editorial full story if you'd like also. And if you made a mistake there, if you just click on the little X, what it does is it gets rid of that version and it does a run a book for you. All right, and I guess the last thing we'll talk a little bit about is also approvals. Now I'm in as admin right now, and we did talk a little bit about email notifications back and forth for people who are part of the milestones as the files go through the production cycle. I do have the ability to go in and actually see what approvals are currently assigned to different people. So for instance, I can go to Add Layout and see that there's one ad that's come in that has to be approved for Add Layout. Or I can go in and say, okay, I want to look at the editor's approval, which we know how lazy the editors are, right? There's a lot of files here that need to be approved by Editorial here. So you do have the ability to go in and look at the full report. I'm in as an admin, so I see everything. If you're set up in really one group, you'll go in and just see the files that are associated with your group or you.